everyone's joining. Today I'm going to be talking about the books that I've read recently. So I was surprised on how much I've read recently. Like, to be honest with you all, like, from mid-September, like, I only read, like, maybe 2 books. Well, one's a DNF. Well, all October I've read 8 books. I haven't read that much since, like, maybe a few years ago, or, like, since I started BookTube. I don't remember the last time I've read 8 books in 1 month, but I'm pretty sure it means that I got my Rainbow Joe back, possibly, but with everything, I was just so happy that I've read a lot in October, and I'm just pretty proud of myself for doing that. But yeah, let's get to the books that I've read recently. So the first book that I've read recently, which was a DNF for me, which is Wonderlost by Jen Malone. This is about a girl who's taking her sister's place as a tour guide around Europe, and then she meets one of the tourist's grandson, as far as I know. I only read up to 100 pages. I just couldn't get into it. I really wish I could like this as much as some people do. I haven't heard anybody else talk about it on BookTube other than Haley from Haley Bookland, who really adores it. I just really couldn't get into it. It's a DNF for me, unfortunately. And the next book that I've read recently is The Forgotten Book by Michael Glacier. I can't pronounce the author's name, and I'm sorry for butchering it. But from what I can tell from this book, it's like about I'm trying to remember the synopsis on top of my head. I apologize. Like, she found this book where it's like forbidden, and then she ends up in the book, but I'm trying to remember on top of my head. I did enjoy it, but I found it like a little slow. It wasn't like fast paced like the Book Jumper was when I first read it. And I still enjoy the characters, but I just found the story a little slow for me. But I still really enjoyed it. It was a 4-star read for me. The next book that I've read recently is YuGiOh Volume 1 by Kazuki Takashi. I think that's how the author's name is pronounced, but if you haven't seen the anime show, that's pretty much about a boy and a group of his friends play duel monsters, or the Shadow Games, that's what they call it. From what Kevin, my husband, told me about it, volumes 1 through 7 is not the TV show, is like volumes through 8 and present. So I was pretty shocked on how dark it was when I read it. I was like reading it for the nostalgia because I loved YuGiOh when I was a kid, and I haven't seen the anime show like since then, and I know it's on Hulu, and I do want to rewatch that, but I was surprised on how dark it was. It's just yeah, it was just very surprising on how dark it is, but I still enjoyed it, and I give it 4 stars. And the next book that I've read recently, which is Delphine and the Silver Needle by Alyssa Moon. This is about one of the Cinderella's mice. She was an orphan, and she was raised by Cinderella's mice friends, and then she gets invited to the palace, and she meets, and then she come across that she has a magic needle, and the rats are coming after her for that reason. And I read this within a day during my 48-hour readathon, which I'll link in the corner in case you guys haven't seen it yet. I love this book so much. I honestly just love the world, and like Cinderella's mice friends are like my favorite characters from Cinderella, and I've just been a sucker for that. And I also love the illustrations for different chapter headers. They're just so beautiful. Let me show you one if I can find one that I like. I just love the artwork of each chapter headings, and I just can't wait to read the sequel, because I know the sequel just came out this year, and I just can't wait to continue on with the series. And I've just been a big sucker for any Disney stories, but yeah, this was a 5-star read for me. And the next book that I've read recently is The Case for Jamie by Brittany Cavallaro. This is the 3rd book in Study of Charlotte series, and if you haven't read the first book is about Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson's descendants and their mystery adventures, basically. And I've really enjoyed this series so much. And the third book, I feel like it's my least favorite out of them. I don't know why. I feel like things were just happening so fast. I'm like, wait, what just happened? So I was like, what the heck is going on? And it makes me want to like reread this again, just because I was like, because I would listen to this on audiobook and I was like, what the heck is going on here? So yeah, I definitely want to read the last book in the series as soon as possible, because I want to know what the heck just happened. And I'm sad that I'm on the last book of the series, but I'm enjoying the series so much. But yeah, this was a 4-star read for me. And the next book that I've read recently is Vesperteen by Margaret Rogerson. This is about a girl who is a nun who's a nun who basically helps spirits go like pass on in the afterlife, and then she comes across a soldier who was possessed, and then they found out that there was a group of people called the Vesperteens and all that. I'm trying to remember on top of my head. I'm sorry if my knowledge is a bit of a blur, but I really enjoyed this one. I think this is my favorite out of Margaret Rogerson's book. I know there's supposed to be like a second book in this coming out, but she hasn't announced like when it's coming out or the title of the next book. But I'm excited about it because I really love the world and I really like the characters, and it's just very unique to me. And I honestly enjoy stories that has like a bit of like have ghosts in it. That's why I really enjoyed this so much. But yeah, this was a 5-star read for me. And the next book that I've read recently is Hocus Pocus and an all-new sequel, and I honestly don't know who the author is. A.W. Jenneth, I think that's the author's name. But this book has like the original first movie, and then it has the sequel. This was published 4 years ago, so this was before the actual Hocus Pocus 2 came out. So yeah, and I'll tell you about the sequel since everybody knows what Hocus Pocus is about. It's about 3 witches going after children to be forever young, and the sequel is basically about Max and Allison's daughter. And this sequel, I know I'm gonna explain like my thoughts on the sequel from this because I've seen the first movie and I enjoyed it. I honestly found it very wild, and I was shocked on what was happening in the sequel, and I was like, I wish that was a movie, to be honest. I've heard a lot of people like wish now the sequel in this was the actual movie, but it wasn't. But I really enjoyed this. This was a perfect Halloween read, and I definitely would probably like to reread this. Maybe, I don't know yet, but yeah, this was like basically like the whole thing was 4.5 stars. For me, like, the first half was for Hocus Pocus, and the other half was for the sequel. So yeah, 4.5 stars for me. And the next book that I read recently, which I don't have with me because it was a library book, which is All the Feels by Olivia Dade. This is a companion novel to Spoiler Alert, and I'm trying to remember who it follows. All I know is it follows an actor and a therapist, I believe. I think. Yeah, an ER therapist. So yeah, that's all I remember from it. I listened to this on audiobook because I thought I might enjoy on audiobook, but I honestly have trouble following the story for some reason. Like, there was parts of it that I didn't know, like, because the audiobook had like multiple chapters, but there's some chapters that are like told through text, and I'm like, I did not notice that. So yeah, and I really enjoyed it. I honestly didn't enjoy as much as Spoiler Alert, but I still think it was good. I do want to read the third book in this series called Shipwrecked, and I know that's also a companion novel, so, and I think that comes out either this year or next year. I can't remember, but yeah, I give this 4 stars. And the next book that I've read recently, which is Children of the Whales Volume 3 by Abby Umeda. I think that's how you pronounce the author's name, and I'm sorry for butchering it, but this is the 3rd book in the Children of the Whales series, and if you haven't read the first volume, it's about a society of people that lives on the ship called the Mud Whale, and then they went on to this island, and then they discovered that they weren't alone, that they found a girl on that island, and the whole story goes from there. I really enjoyed this series, and I really enjoyed the third book a lot. I think it was just a really good continuation, a good series continuation. I can't wait to continue on read more of that series, just because I really like the artwork and I like the characters, I like the story. But yeah, this was a 5-star read. And the next book that I've read recently is Rising the Horseman by Serena Valentino. This is a retelling of Legend of Sleepy Hollow about Katrina Vandesso's descendant cat, and from the story the new girl comes into the town, and then she accidentally bring back the Horseman. And I really enjoyed this story. I found there were some things in there that kind of bugged me a bit, because not only I've read the original story, but I've seen the Disney version hundreds of times, and there were some things that were bugging me. I was trying to figure out like what was part of the original story and what was part of this, and I was like, wait a minute. So I still really enjoyed the story. I just love how you could see Kat's perspective and Katrina's perspective throughout the whole story, and I'm just really happy about that. And I found the story a fun Halloween read, and I might read this every year, who knows. But yeah, this was a 4-star read for me. And the last book that I've read recently, which I also don't have because it was a library book, which is The Promised Neverland Volume 7 by, oh gosh, what was the author's name? Caillou Shira. I'm sorry if I butchered the author's name. I was looking at my phone to figure out the pronunciation, and I apologize if I butchered it. But if you haven't read the first volume is the Promised Neverland is about a group of orphans who are living a happy life, but then they find out their life is not as happy as it seems, and they are finding out what's been happening outside of the orphanage. And I just love this series so much. I just love all the characters, and a lot of things have surprised me throughout the series, and I know it's said that it goes up to volume 20, but I'm just really happy that I was continuing with the series. I'm really loving how the story's going, and I'm just can't wait to go to volume 8. And yeah, I also give this 5 stars. And that's all for my most reads video. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up and comment down below what books that you've read recently. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button and click the bell icon so you'll be notified if I ever post new videos. Also, you can follow me on social media like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Goodreads, which all links will be down below for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!